Hey everybody, welcome to a very super episode of Just Open It, the YouTube series in which I open recently acquired toys. My name is Russ. I really appreciate you watching this video. If you're a fan of toy collecting or action figures or pop culture in general, please subscribe to my channel, Karaoke Fanboy TV. Every week I will be opening a recently acquired toy or action figure, and this week I am opening the McFarlane Toys Superpowers Superman, and I'm very excited, the Superpowers Supermobile. Now, I reviewed the Superpowers Batman and Darkseid action figures a few weeks ago, and it's actually one of my most viewed videos. So I really appreciate everybody's support there. I know that this line is intriguing and interesting. A lot of fans like me who grew up with superpowers. Is McFarlane Toys doing this brand right? And my estimation based on the two action figures I've already opened is The figures are well constructed, but if you read the comments in that video, you'll find that some of my fellow fans of superpowers kind of summarized the view perfectly. The figures' chests feel inflated. The hole in the cape as a result of the packaging is very disconcerting. Just frankly, poor planning on the part of the toy designers and the packaging department, and the absence of any true superpower in these figures, in that the vintage line offered an action feature. Most commonly when you squeezed their legs, their arms would go like this, offering kind of a punching action. And as a young collector and as a kid that played with these toys, I absolutely loved that. It offered something dynamic that set these toys apart. And McFarlane Toys' version or interpretation of the Superpowers line completely misses that mark. So mixed reviews on these figures, to say the least. But as I said in that video, and as I believe its redeeming quality is going to be in these vehicles, the Supermobile and the Batwing, which I have yet to find in the Phoenix market. I found this Supermobile a few weeks ago. I actually found this Superman today as I record this, which is what prompted me to sit down and record this video at all. So the only Superpowers figure that I'm missing from this initial wave is actually the vehicle, the Batwing. I have seen in some markets that there is a Superpowers John Stewart Green Lantern that is a part of this as well. And so with that character and the Batwing specifically, I think McFarlane Toys is doing what I hope Superpowers 2.0, so to speak here, continues to do, which is essentially continue the line of toys from our childhood, implementing and integrating characters that the original Superpowers line did not include. I understand that you have to start with Superman, Batman, and Darkseid, I guess. But characters like Harley Quinn, maybe a Tim Drake Robin, John Stewart is a great example. Those are classic characters, well known, that did not receive the Superpowers treatment in the 80s, frankly, because some of them didn't even exist yet. And so now, to create those characters with this mold, at this scale, so I could stand them alongside my original Superpowers figures, well, I think that's the future of McFarlane Toys' take on this. If you're not going to have the action feature, then why not just create new characters in that scale so you're continuing the Superpowers line? To recreate the original Superman, and just to show my clout as a collector, I have an original Superpowers Superman here. I bought this on the secondary market probably about 20 years ago, and it might have been in better condition when I bought it, but it's experienced quite a few moves. I keep it on display. The bubble is yellowing, but I'm such a fan of this original line. Masters of the Universe was my number one, but Superpowers was my number two, introducing me to these classic DC superheroes when I was a kid. So when you look at these side by side here like this, and that might be my thumbnail, you see that the packaging, the design is very similar, at least with Superman. Even the illustration on the package is meant to evoke nostalgia, whereas on the Batman and Darkseid packages, I kind of remember it was more contemporary, maybe even Jim Lee art. So a mixed identity here. You're going with kind of modern packaging art on some characters. You're going with this more nostalgic take on others. Of course, the design, the logo, kind of the iconography is all the same, but no action feature and no mini comic, which I might make a separate video about, just the absence of mini comics here. So critical, I think, if you're targeting a young audience with the Superpowers line. But let's be honest, they're not. This is meant to attract me, the 40-something that had these original figures and is still going to the toy aisle to buy McFarlane Toys, and now this is there tugging at my heartstrings. So I might pass on the Azrael Batman. I might pass on some of the Batman Beyond figures that are coming out now. Those are the figures that are really attracting my attention. But at $20-25 a pop, I'm letting them be. This is almost a must buy because it was so integral to my childhood and my love of DC Comics and comic books in general. I gotta see what they're all about. I gotta see if McFarlane's doing them justice. I have my original Supermobile here as well. There's the action feature. You would pop, I think Lex Luthor's like energy harness under here, and he would carry Lex Luthor around. For the longest time, I did not have the cockpit cover here. But I found it on the secondary market, I think at a toy show here in Phoenix. Just the cover, so I was able to buy that for a couple bucks and get closer to completing this thing again. Of course, I'm missing the fin, as a lot of collectors, I believe, that still have this from their childhood are. Though I see the Supermobile often on the secondary market. When it has the fin, I'm tempted to buy it because it's complete, but maybe somebody could 3D print me the fin at this point. I mean, there's no point in me buying this whole vehicle again, even though I just did, but we'll get to that in a minute. There's no point in me buying this vehicle again when I still have my Superman logo sticker. The cockpit kind of controls sticker is still in there, if you could see that. And in lieu of Superman, who is lost to the ages, I have my mail-away Clark Kent figure that, as a stupid kid, I must have stuck like in a fan blade or something. I might have been playing where Clark was in a trap and he secretly stopped the blade from slicing him up with his powers, while in his secret identity here as Clark Kent. Yeah, I did stuff like that. And I think the Flash's boot also suffered from a fan blade when I was a kid. But yeah, I have Clark here, and there's some dust on his pant leg. But I have Clark in the Supermobile, because I'm still so happy to have both of these toys. And then the Superman in the package here, again, that I got on the secondary market, not from my childhood, but at a collector's store. And again, 20 years ago, I think I bought this for 20 bucks. It seemed like a steal at the time. Still does, of course. Even in this condition, probably get more for it. But I'm just such a fan of kind of the pop art quality of this at this point. And that's why McFarlane Toys is doing this. The Supermobile is a more comic book faithful version of the vehicle. And when I bought it, it had this hole in the package. I figured, you know what? I'm going to open it, so I don't mind the damage on the box. Interestingly, when I found both the Supermobile and Superman separately at two different Wal-Marts at two different times here in the Phoenix market, they were the only Superpowers items on the shelf. They seemed randomly placed. And all the stores here, all the toy aisles are kind of going through that flip, that transition into the new toy season. So I presume that's kind of what's happening, is these figures are maybe like being found in the back outside of their cases. So, you know, somebody at Walmart will just grab it and throw it on a peg. Fortunately, it was in the system. Both of them rang up easily. $10 here, $30 here, which was about $10 more than I thought it was going to be. I thought maybe we were looking at 20, 25 bucks here. So 30 seems hefty. And I'm going to rip into these now because I'm already at about 10 minutes in this video. And I could talk forever about Superpowers and the impact they had on me. So let's go into the Superman action figure and see if it evokes the same nostalgia. Right away, you could tell that the cape is not attached to Superman. I don't think that's on purpose. I think that's a packaging flaw. That might be why the designers would justify that little tag holding the cape into the plastic. But to me, I'd rather have that cape down here, loose, fallen, from shipping or what have you than a hole in it when I open the thing. So all that said, let's just get right into it here and see if this Superman evokes the same feelings of nostalgia as that first Superpowers Superman did. In fact, Superman was the first Superpowers figure I got with the Supermobile at the same time. I remember as a kid, it was kind of my first not He-Man related action figure. Different scale, different character entirely. I think I got it on a day I was homesick from school. I kind of remember something like that. So it was just a special day with these new things. So these are important toys to me. Very formulative, and again, in my love of comics and these characters. So packaging relatively intact, doesn't matter. I'm going to toss it, but you can see the back. Look at the back of this package compared to the back of this package. Now, this is just obviously more streamlined. There's so much more product here that they're offering. What is this even over here? There's a poster that was available at the time. So a very cool, the powers, the weaknesses, enemies, secret identity. Very cool information for a kid. This is just the age-old tale of Superman's origin that we all know and have seen in multiple media. Unnecessary. I'd rather it get a little deeper. Again, with some weaknesses, with some... Does it mention magic as a weakness? It does. It's very thorough here. So I just wish that they delved a little deeper here. Offer kids a little bit more mythology than they might have heard in the past. But okay, let's go. Got that smell. The new toy smell that I like so much. Superman is out, the cape. Again, there's that tag, but this time, okay, there's that tag right through the cape. But this time, I'm prepared. So I'm going to cut that to the best of my ability here. Last time I just tore Batman's cape through it, and it left a very big hole. I've watched a few other reviewers, and despite my attempts to do that as cleanly as possible, you could see that there is a significant hole left as a result of that. And I don't know why they did that. I had an initial theory, as I was driving home from the store, that perhaps they did such a thing to distinguish this cape from the original Superman's, the original Superpowers cape, so that collectors couldn't perhaps use these capes to embellish their old figures and reintroduce them onto the secondary market as complete. You know, with so many of these reissues, like Kenner's Ghostbusters and Playmates Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it looks just like the original stuff. I don't see how or why the secondary market isn't being flooded with older figures embellished with new accessories and presented as complete from back in the day. Like the pack, the Ghostbusters pack, for example, is the one that Egon came with, when in actuality it came from the re-release. Is that happening on the secondary market? Comment for me below if it is. So I was wondering if that might be why they did that with this cape, but honestly, obviously not. The length of the cape is different. You know, the screen print of the S here is a little bit bigger than the original Superpowers. It's obviously cleaner than a cape that's, you know, 40-something years old would be. So all that said, I just don't know why they did this, packaged it this way. But they did keep that kind of collar clip so the cape can be applied like so. And here he is. Superpowers Superman. I'm going to mess with some of the joints here. I love his stance. It's a very classic, powerful Superman stance. Legs with that characteristic knee joint of the Superpowers line. This would be kind of a flying pose here that I often struck with my original Superman. This is my favorite of the three figures, and I knew it would be. Paint applications, pretty striking, color scheme, and so on. You see Superman's blue eyes. The Superpowers Superman of the 80s had very striking blue eyes, and they retained that here, so I wasn't the only one to notice that, I guess. You can see that here, even through that yellow to plastic. So I do enjoy this figure. I like it. I wish that its companion figures, like Batman and Darkseid, were more classically designed, because you know Superman's costume is just with this primary color scheme, very golden Silver Age comics. You know, with the you take away the trunks and it's a different thing entirely. So they kept them there, and this is the classic Superman. Whereas the color scheme of the Batman I opened didn't have the yellow oval. I'm looking at him over there on the shelf. Darker gray, darker blue. Another reason why my theory about the capes is flawed. The Superpowers Batman from back in the day had a nice bright blue cape. Definitely more of a Neil Adams-esque color scheme, whereas this Batman, the Superpowers Batman of today, is more of a Jim Lee, New 52, whatever they're calling the DC Universe now. So let me get into the Supermobile and see how easily it comes out of the package, which is important, and how ready to play it is. Because again, if this stuff is designed for kids, it should be ready to go, in my opinion, with very minimal assembly. You know, some sticker application, I suppose, if kids are still into such a thing. But nowadays, they just want to tear into this stuff and get to playing. Which is why the tag and the cape is so confusing to me. It's just one more step toward getting the figure out of the package. Okay. This is exciting to me. Here's the cockpit cover here. And I am removing some packaging, and I can feel it. The Supermobile. Nothing left in the... Oh! Take that back. We have a fin left in the box. So some assembly required, but not too much. I'll give it to them. Not too much at all. So this is interesting. One more little packaging piece here. Okay. Getting a little crowded here. Interesting tag here that says remove before use. I'm not sure what that is. Okay. Something popped up there. I assume that's where I attached the hatch, and so this was just to package it most effectively. No paperwork, so the assembly is apparently going to be self-explanatory. I'm going to get right to it. The hatch is removed and must go like this. Ah, okay. Now, I know there is a feature here, two features actually, because I watched Todd McFarlane himself on YouTube play with the Supermobile a little bit. And I'll show you what he was very excited about with this in the Batwing. But the shape of this is easy enough to understand. So this must just go in here like that. Easy. Snaps. I'll tell you what. Very cool looking. I absolutely dig this, which is what I thought, how I thought I'd feel about it. Sit back. Okay, so we have a little knob on the bottom, which is evocative of kind of 80s toy technology. And when you turn that knob, the Supermobile punches. And this is a comic book accurate Supermobile. Superman had a Supermobile like this in issues of at least Action Comics. I remember it vividly. I think he fought the android Amazo in this Supermobile, and probably some other villains as well. But this is what McFarlane was particularly excited about. You press the logo, and the hatch opens. The same is true for the Batwing. So, pretty cool. Again, kind of evocative of 80s toy technology. Now, how easily does the Man of Steel go into the cockpit, which does have some cool control stickers, especially here. Looks a lot like kind of that Superpowers technology, if you could see that, with like kind of this scope image and some just random buttons. It looks like something right out of the Hall of Justice, if not right out of the original Supermobile. Yeah, it looks like it's a bit of an homage to that. So, how easily does Superman fit in the cockpit? Let's find out. You know, Metallo's arrived. He's got his kryptonite heart exposed. Superman needs protection. So he summons the Supermobile, takes a seat, and there he is in it. Now the cape, oh, be careful, I pressed that logo there. The cape is crunchy in there. The cape is kind of scrunched up. I could probably mess with it and straighten it all out, but for the sake of the length of this video, just going to show you that there. Now the other feature, from what I understand, are these hatches in the back where you can stash villains. They're like little jail cells back here. And I'm trying to figure out how to open these. Is there a button or a trigger or something? The back of the box just says jail cell. So, what am I missing here on this? Guys, if you could comment below. Okay. There it is. Now, you're supposed to be able to fit a villain in there. Darkseid's not going to fit in there. And that's the only villain we have available so far. So if future action figures, and look at this, Superman coming out of his initial ride in the Supermobile, the cape is already significantly crinkled from that cramming into the cockpit. But if future figures in the Superpowers line are about this scale and size, will they fit in this jail cell? Because it doesn't look like Superman does himself. Right? If I'm doing something wrong there, please comment, but he's a little too tall, a little too bulky to fit in there. So this is more of what? A weapons storage? Definitely not the jail cell that the box would lead you to believe. And you'd see the villain's face through this Superman-shaped kind of air vent there, but it's not happening. And both sides look to be about the same size, so again, if I kind of... I just feel like I'm going to break it every time I do that. I don't know if I'm missing a button here somewhere, but same size, same capacity. Superman doesn't fit, so future villains in this line will have to be just a shade smaller than this figure to fit, to make this feature worth it. And if they don't fit, I don't understand the feature. Do something else or don't do anything there at all. Or market it as kryptonite storage or something like that. So, you know, there's a safe place, a lead-lined area Superman can stash the kryptonite that he falls victim to and get it to the Fortress of Solitude or fly it into the sun safely or something like that. Overall, beautifully designed, excellent size, great weight to it, very light, but still kind of you know, substantial and hefty. Something that a kid could, you know, play with as far as a flying vehicle goes. The functionality of the jail cells makes it relatively pointless to me. Opening the hatch is a great feature. So I am a fan of this. If I had to give it like a out of 10 kind of a score, I think I'd give it a 7.5. Where it suffers is those jail cell capacities and the cockpit capacity for Superman and his cape. I felt like it was a tight fit. And if the point is to put these figures in their vehicles so they can enjoy the ride, well, that's what we fans are trying to do with the Superpowers line. And as much as we really want to love it, it seems to be becoming increasingly more difficult, with very small flaws that seem to be potentially easily repaired, perhaps the second wave. Looking forward to finding the Batwing and giving you that review as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Like me on Instagram as well, if you don't mind. Give me a follow at AmazingAZComics. You'll see more pictures of the comics and toys I like, and you'll get some information about the comics and zines I make. Tune in next time when I grab another toy laying around my living room or find one at the store. Bring it back, look at it, and I say, you know what? Just open it. I'll catch you next time.